Oh, yeah, and by the way, Each Way Albo, he now somehow thinks it's the Prime Minister's fault that Anastasia Palaszczuk and Stephen Marshall and Peter Goodwin and Mark McGowan aren't being sensible.
Look, we need to be consistent here, which is the Prime Minister wants to say two things that are contradictory. One, that it's up to the states, and then criticise the states. I haven't criticised either Liberal or Labor state governments, but I don't want to see any measures, any restrictions in place longer than necessary.
Which would be an implicit criticism of the... Anyway, Bronwyn Bishop, look, again, this is the most frustrating issue that exists in Australia. I couldn't care less if I keep being told by people, oh, it's not as big as you think. If you own a small business like the lady did in Mingaloo Reef, who's got $500,000 in pre-bookings, she's getting screwed. If you're the bloke who owns the resort in Cairns, you're getting screwed. Yet, apparently, we care more about whether 250 people can go to an Indigenous funeral, no fines whatsoever, and Pauline Hanson's apparently searching for headlines by challenging this nonsense in the High Court, as you have been suggesting for a long time.
Well, yes, I have indeed, Paul. But the real problem is this. We are fighting not one but two viruses. Well, yes, the coronavirus, but also the socialist virus. And unlike the Chinese, I identified the socialist virus a long time ago. But we now need to find a cure. And if we don't find a cure, we will have one of two outcomes. One will be more socialism, which is a bit like trying to cure a stomach ulcer with sulfuric acid. Or two, we'll have some free enterprise. Now, free enterprise historically freed us from slave labour, it freed us from poverty, it established private property rights, it established the ability to trade, it got rid of monopolies. And if we can have some free enterprise now, if we can loosen up so that we can see that the costs of production are lessened, so that we go back to having some coal-fired power, which is cheap, we've got the resources, we can do it, so that we can, in fact, compete, then we can pull away from China and their slave labour cheap goods, and we can start to be more self-reliant and more self-sufficient as a nation. Now, if we don't go that route, then the prognosis for Australia is really, really very sad indeed. So, yes, we have to open those borders. Yes, it's good that they're going to the High Court to test out Section 92, because we are a single nation and we have got to see the federal government enforce the reality that we are a single nation. And that means bashing Daniel Andrews round the head as well. How can he possibly be introducing the Communist Party of China into this nation and putting at risk the very ownership of our infrastructure and putting at risk the ability that they can infiltrate our culture and the sort of democracy that we are entitled to say is ours?
Yeah.